when I think about my own client base and I think about the term housing crisis, right? We have a supply crisis, absolutely, which we'll certainly dig into with all of your notes there and your stuff. So I'm very excited.
I'm such a nerd. Like I'm
so
a dork.
Good. If you have a home right now already, and you would just like to upgrade, you're not really in a crisis situation. Like you have a home, right?
Yeah, you got a roof over your head.
You have a roof over your head. Perhaps you're not making that move to upgrade like you were planning to this year because it is such a low supply and everything's going crazy. But first-time home buyers just desperately trying to get into houses who, I mean, really the time in your life that you buy your first home usually affects the entire course of the rest of how your life kind of, I mean, I say unfortunately because I'm not a big believer in like having to follow exactly the rules of life, you know,
like society's pressures.
Like I did it all backwards. Like I did like baby, house, marriage, baby.
Is baby, house, marriage, baby backwards?
Yeah, because I mean,
or is baby, marriage, house, another baby forwards?
It's supposed to be like marriage, house, baby, or house, marriage, baby.
Yeah, well, you know, anybody under 30 right now is like screw marriage, screw houses, and screw babies.
Exactly,
so,
pretty much. But here's the thing, because most people
just click on this Amazon here right now. I'm going to get another, video game sent to my house.
Oh, that's true.
You don't even need to actually buy them. They just get sent to your software.
That's the thing, though. People have this, like, this is how I am going to plan my life. And when I buy my first home is all put into that. Like, I don't want to have a baby until I have a home and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, but that's like, who's telling you to do that?
Exactly.
Your parents and grandparents.
Probably.
When are you going to buy a home and have a baby?
Yeah, or then you get the home and they keep asking you when you're going to have the baby. So.
And then they're like, you got to get married before you get the home and have the baby, by the way. Those days are so dead in the water.
Yeah.
Those days are as dead in the water as, seniors against marijuana. Is that not dead in the water?
So dead in the water. They love it.
They love it now. All of a sudden, everybody who's over 65 is high as a kite. CBD is what they disguise it as. They're like, oh, I want my CBD. But really, they want to get high.
Oh, it's so true. It's for my arthritis, though. Come on now.
It's for my arthritis. It's for... And then, because I have somebody very close to me that works in one of those pot shops. Like, very close.
Yeah.
Like, lives with me.
Okay.
Right? One of the girls.
Yeah.
And they're the best. They're so awesome. I love her. She's amazing. But she just recently got a job at the pot shop, and she was telling me that like once a day, a very grumpy old man comes in. Not the same grumpy old man. She's just generalizing.
Yeah.
And she's like, the grumpy old man, they come in and they start bitching and complaining how they have to get, the marijuana for their wife. Almost like they're embarrassed.
For their wife?
And they don't agree with it. But they want
Oh.
it so bad that they'll go in there and they'll be like, they're walking into some sort of lingerie shop.
No way.
Having to get like underwear or something for Valentine's Day. But really, they want to smoke the damn pot.
I love it.
It's great.
That's amazing.
But they don't know how to be like, yeah, I'm here. Tell me what
cool
strain you have.
Right?
Like, what strains is there? How do I get like as high as I possibly can be?
That's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, you're retired. You're just sitting around the house all day. All of a sudden, you smoke a joint, and you're like literally in some sort of like a senior wonderland.
I mean, hey.
There's so much stuff to do around the house all of a sudden.
This is something I honestly haven't even thought about.
Everybody loves pot now.
Now.
But they didn't 20 years ago. It was like, no. And I'm saying this because it's like 20 years ago, it was like, you get married, you have a kid, then you have babies, and you don't do it any other way.
Yes. And I think, though, a lot of people still have that ingrained in them. And then I see them putting their life on hold because they don't have that house yet. Right? Because I know for me, so I've been 15 years in the business now. When I first started, all of my first-time home buyers were around the age that I was when I started, early 20s.
That's very telling.
They were all my peers. Everyone was getting their house. All you had to do was like basically have a part-time job and like $3 in the bank, and the bank would give you a house.
Here's
like,
a house. You get a house. You get a house. The bank was like Oprah back in the day.
$3.50, like
you get a house. You get a house.
But that's when everybody was buying their first home. Now, my first-time home buyers are early 30s. They are easily 10 years-ish older. than they were. Then the question is, I see a lot of them also putting their life plans on hold until they get that house. So now instead of maybe if you do want children, you're having them in your 30s instead of maybe in your mid to late 20s.
That's right. And you're spending 2 years battling it out just to even get a house in this market.
That's the thing. So the best advice I give everybody is just like, don't put your life on hold now, at least if you live in the GTA, for getting that house, of thinking that you have to have that house to start that life or whatever it might be.
Like go get the dog.
Get the dog,
get the puppy, have the baby if you really want to.
You know?
I mean, no one's telling you to do that. I'm not encouraging it.
You know.
Because it's expensive.
Okay, it is. But.
And when you're in a rental, by the way, you are at risk of that landlord saying, well, you got to go.
This is true.
And where do they go from there if they can't afford the house? Because another rental? Good luck.
I know.
So, it's really difficult. So how do we kind of, advise? It's almost like you got to step back and be like, do whatever you want to do. Be prepared to get the rewards and the consequences.
That's it. And be prepared that it's not going to go exactly as you thought it was going to. It's different. I truly believe that this, and not just the COVID market, but like right when it came to that like 2016, 2017 boom.
Yeah.
And although we softened and we're way, way up now, this is sort of like where the entire culture of home ownership has changed forever in the GTA.
Yeah.
You're no longer getting in as young as you were unless you have parents giving you money, which we talked about the last time here, that there's far more money being injected into the system from parents.
Yeah, it's the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of, recorded finance.
Right. So there's that, which changes us to now be operating similar to other like big metropolitan cities in the world, right?
Tokyo, Hong Kong, London.
Where you're not just like, oh, I have a first-time home buyer with $400,000 and I can buy this. Like, that's not a thing. We're there now, and I don't know that we're going back.
Toronto is a mega city on the international scale that has one huge problem. The biggest problem with Toronto is that green belt is the biggest green space that surrounds a city of its kind in the world. No other city has that in the world.
Wow.
Of that size.
Wow.
And they're so stringent on what can or cannot be done when it comes to development of any of that, even on the barrier of it. And that green belt was only designed the way that it is today in like 1995. What were they thinking in 1995? They were thinking that, the city's not going to get much bigger. Like there's no way.
Trying to stop growth? I know that a lot. I feel like the thread by which all of our municipalities makes their decisions is anti-growth, almost sometimes.
It is like anti-growth, but then there's a counteractive force coming from outside of the borderlines of this city, this province, this country that's like pushing everybody to a place where they're like healthcare, clean water, safety, all that stuff. It's almost like counterproductive to slowing down growth for the guys like Steve Clark here, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, right? Like what is his plan? Up here, is this where it is? Right here? Less than 7% of new housing built in the past 20 years was intended for rentals.
Wow.
So what the hell are they talking about? 10 years to build apartments in the GTA. This is from the minister.
Goodness.
It takes 2+ years for site plan approvals for new buildings and major renovations.
But how are they going to fix this? That's the thing.
This is what I'm trying to ask you.
Oh.
I'm trying to ask anybody out there. Can anybody tell me how they spent the last 20 years prioritizing 7% of rentals, of units to be rentals, 10 years to build any apartments in the GTA, 2 years for any site plan approvals. We've got 300 houses on the market in this upcoming January in Durham region. I know that's not the entire Toronto, but that gives you kind of an idea.
That happens again in January, because that happened last January.
Yeah.
I don't know
where prices go. Where do rent prices go? Where
I don't know.
It's insanity.
It's amazing, because right there it says lengthy approvals and high costs have slowed down the building of new housing and rentals. But they're also not talking about the fact that even if they could speed up the approval process, right? and I guess make it more affordable. Where are you building? Where is the land?
They've blocked it all off.
Exactly. So
They've blocked it all off with green space. Like, sorry, we can't do this.
I am all for these beautiful areas that surround us. I am all for nature. Okay.
Me too.
However,
I've got plants all over my house all of a sudden.
You know?
Like, I don't know. COVID put everybody onto like aloe plants. We have a tree. There's a tree in my living room.
it's amazing.
It's nuts.
Oh, I saw that.
You probably did. I
You
posted
posted
every
it.
once in a while. I'm like, tree's doing fine.
So we brought a bunch of plants into the office here, and then they didn't like living in all the other areas. So now we've had to put them all in the back meeting room because it gets the best sunlight. And like, that's where I meet most of my clients.
Life has happened. Like, babies, houses. Where's
So
my
I'm
plants at?
Like, come on, we're meeting in the back room. They get there and they're like, what? It's like a jungle. It's a jungle in the back nook room.
What a jungle in the room.
It's where they're happiest, those plants.
Now we are
die
deciding
everywhere
where
else.
plants are happy or sad.
I've realized
This is what
it's
it
a
went from
thing.
dogs to plants.
It's fine.
But this is when, when things like that happen that are like make you feel good, and it makes plants make a lot of people feel good. I think it's because nobody wants to actually face these numbers.
It's true.
And I didn't even tell you, but in there somewhere, I'll actually bring it up afterwards. The amount of people they're expecting by 2031, 4 million.
Goodness. Wow.
This is what I'm up like reading at 12:30 at night. I got problems.
More people need to be more aware of what's happening.
That's right. That's a great way to summarize it, Kelly. Bye, everybody.
Bye.